Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be showing you this recent purchase that I made from Benchdog Tools, made on your recommendations from my last video on the seventh update on my DIY MFT. Great feedback from everybody. And while I was looking to embed some T-Track into this tabletop, it was highly recommended by a handful of you that I check out Benchdogs. And guess what? I made that purchase. So let's take a look at what I got into. Okay, so before we get to what's in the box, let's see what I ordered. So I ordered the fence system bundle with fence dogs instead of the quad dogs. This is going to allow me to more easily remove it from the table and store it. If you are looking for more permanent setup, they're quad dogs, which are much more like these UJK dogs that can tighten down and have a really nice hold, but are a little less easy to just kind of pop up and move from place to place. I also ordered a single fence dog, so this is an additional fence dog, so I can put 3 in the main portion and kind of prevent any deflection. I did see some reviews online that recommended that, and I ordered 2 of these flat face bench dogs that are small, just for kind of general use, not necessarily related to the track saw use. So anyways, let's take a look at what's in the box. And first of all, let's look at some of the accessories that came, or not accessories, but the little add-ons. So we got a little keychain. Nice. We got a sticker. We have an air freshener, so I'll have to put that up in the shop, and then just a little card. So not too much in there, but that's always a nice touch. And what we have in here, so let's just remove some of the big pieces. So assuming this is the large extrusion, we then have the right hand side. So I did buy the right hand side support because I was using a support with my UJK setup, and then this would be the lower extension that goes essentially from 0 to like that first 20 millimeters or so, or sorry, 200 millimeters. And then we have all these little accessories. So let's take all these out, and then I'll show you what they all are. Okay, so now we have all the pieces out in front of us and removed from their packaging. The packaging was really quite nice. There are no marks at all on any of these. They got my order perfectly right, so very happy with that. And again, we've got the main extrusion here. So the 1,200 millimeters, got the little additional piece there. And part of that set also included 1 flip stop, which is right here. We've got 2 2 of the fence dogs. And we have a little deflection stop. So this goes on the back, or can help prevent the extension from flexing if you want to use that. We then have the right hand side extension, which includes another flip stop, and that was one of the main reasons why I bought this, is just because I was going to buy another flip stop anyways, because it's handy for me to have 2 on there when I'm working on a project. And then it also comes with the 2 dogs and the little bar for, the little bar actually goes over with this piece right there. Then we have the 2 additional items that I purchased. So again, another dog so that I can use all 3 of these on the main extrusion, and then these little bench dogs. And I was just playing around with these, and something interesting is that all these fence dogs fit absolutely perfect in my 20 millimeter holes. And so there's no movement, really solid. Even like the little one for deflection fits in really well and can come out. So like, that's what you always want with dogs, is you want them to fit really well, not wiggle at all, which this one's not wiggling, but then come out easily. Now these 2 low profile bench dogs, they don't go in very well. Okay, there we go. So it goes in with some force, then getting it back out, it's much tighter. So that is something that's relatively common with kind of any dog system that you're using, is that the tolerance of the UJK system that I use to drill these holes is always going to be different when it comes to different manufacturers of dogs. So the only thing that I'm not concerned in any way is just that these bench dogs, the fence dogs, fit exactly like my UJK ones. So they fit in really well, come out nicely. It's just these 2 little guys that are just a much tighter fit. So I'm okay with that. Just something to be aware of, that any 20 millimeter accessory is always going to be built to different tolerances depending on the holes that you have. So you might just get some that are a little more snug than others. Now, let's take a look at the fence. And these are really easy to put together. Essentially, they're 2 washers. You put 1 washer on, Put the flip stop in there, put the other washer on, put the nut on there. And then what you can do is just with a 10mm ratchet, just make it as snug as you want. So that's too snug. There. So it moves freely, but with some resistance, and you can dial that in as you need. So I'll do the other flips up, then we'll get to the installation of the main system and see how it compares to the UJK. Actually, first, just as far as installing the fence dogs in here, you basically just have these little nuts that go in to the track. Then you can take the dog, put the bolt through, and just like leave it a little loose just until you get it in. So I'm going to do that with 3 for this main one. Okay, so also before I get this in, I am going to insert this bar and get this little extension on. So very simple, slide that on. And just butt it right up there. There, locked into place. Okay, so because of the way that I attach my track using these UJK clips, I can't have the Benchdogs setup all the way back here. And now this is something that I absolutely expected. Now, if I align that up to the kerf, I could use this dog. So like this dog is not in the way. And funny enough, actually, if I am cutting probably 3/4 material, I don't know if this will show up on video, but the clip actually goes through part of the groove on the back of the extrusion. So I could typically have this set up back here. However, what I'm mostly going to do, and again, this was exactly what I had expected, was I'm going to set it up just to the front. I will lose a tiny bit of cutting capacity as far as kind of what I can do there, but I'm not typically cutting much more than that, and I can butt this up over here if I really need to. So let's just get this in place. So just lining up the dogs in a few different areas. Super easy to move them around. I am glad that I got the 3rd dog to put in the middle. You can lock those down. Oh, actually, let's just keep them loose because we have to calibrate this. Okay, not gonna worry about the right hand side piece yet. Let's get the flip stop on. Flip stop should be pretty easy to get on here. Of course, did it backwards. There we go. These flip stops are phenomenal, and just that's one of the reasons why I was in my last MFT video talking about moving away from the UJK. Actually, I had, even before that video aired, I had bought this T-track that I was going to embed in the table in front or just behind, actually just in front of this UJK fence, so I could have a stop in the T-track. And then that's when a lot of people recommended the Benchdogs, which I'm really thankful that they did, because that can essentially do both. Now the stop on the UJK was fine, could lock down nicely, but there are no measurements on it. And I also found that when I had dogs in here to hold it down, if I didn't have this in the right spot, I would have to move the dogs and lift this up and take the stop off. Whereas on the Benchdogs, great thing is that, is that you can just loosen it up, slide it along, lock it down, throw it down, and you can have multiple on here. So my plan is to typically have 2 stops on this main track, so that when I'm cutting, if I'm doing a bookshelf or something like that, and I have 2 measurements that I'm going to be doing, and I might not be doing them in order, I can have these in place, just flip it up, and then do the other cut. So now calibration is supposed to be pretty easy on this, so I'm actually going to put the track on, and then we'll see what we have to do. These clips from UJK are just phenomenal. I absolutely love them. I do have one of the other UJK connectors where it's the dogs with the track support on the top, but adjusting them is such a pain, as is removing all the material. You know what? This is interesting. No, I'm not gonna be able to move it back because the dog clip will be in the way. But let's grab a square. I knew that there'd be a purpose for this woodpecker's mini square, so just gonna butt it up against the side of the rail, and then I'm just gonna move the fence and butt it right up against there. Then lock down the fence. And now we're good to go. So we are all calibrated. Yeah, let's see what else we have to do. So let's get the right side fence in as well, just so I can kind of get a full setup, and then I'll show you how I'm gonna be using this. Okay, so you know what? Getting the right side fence in is just, it's trivial. I mean, throw the dogs on the back, put it in. It does have measurements on the front, so you could essentially, like if I loosen this, like line it up to the other side of the kerf. That's not something that I want to do. So I really don't care about the measurements on here. I just want to use it for support, so I'm just gonna move it off the edge like that. And the other thing that I forgot to do was to put this little dog to prevent deflection. Let's get a piece of wood on here, and then let's make a cut. Okay, so I don't want to waste too much of this material because I will probably be using it in a few projects, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the flip stop to 680 millimeters. Notice that there is this flip stop, but I've got it flipped up so you could pretend that I was making shorter cuts on the same kind of project. Butt that up. There's no movement in this flip stop. That is really quite nice. Even if you put a little bit of pressure, this is not moving at all. So really, these are some of the best flip stops that I've ever used. And now let's get the track back on. So we got 680 millimeters. With how I'm cutting this material, I don't need the right-hand side support, which is fine. It's one of those things that I'll probably use it from time to time, but the main reason why I got it was it wasn't that much more expensive to buy that and get the flip stop than to just buy the flip stop separately. So, and when I am working on larger materials, it is really nice to have the right-hand side support. But let's now make this cut. Let's hit the saw. Okay, and now let's just double check. That is, 680 millimeters. So, okay, so first time using the flip stops on this Benchdogs setup, and it is perfect. Now I was originally a little worried that having essentially zero clearance on this would be problematic. I was worried about running into it with the blade or that sort of thing. But the way that I was able to just kind of butt it up against the edge of the guide rail with a square, there's no concern about hitting that. It doesn't even look like the saw blade touched it at all. Even if it did, that'd be okay. Yeah, the precision of this is something that I'm super excited for. So let's wrap this video up, and I'll give you kind of my final thoughts on this. So before wrapping this up, I just wanted to give you a little bit more of a detailed tour of this, just so you can see just how it compares against the UJK. Now I love this UJK fence. I even have the shorter version of it, and I am gonna be using this on a smaller DIY MFT table that I'm gonna be building to roll around, have some sustainer storage and that sort of thing. So this is not going to waste by any means. It is perfectly straight. It's a great system. It just didn't have the measurements or the flip stops that I really wish it did. But what's really cool with this is just, I don't know, Benchdogs. I'm so glad that a few viewers recommended this. There was actually quite a few. This little dog right there to prevent deflection works perfectly. Just kind of that detail is probably not really needed when you have the majority of the workpiece up along here, but if you are working on something smaller, it's nice to have. Again, you can kind of just see how precise it is. There, let's get into focus with that kerf line in the table, and flip stops work really well. Now you can tilt this whole fence on its side to have it be lower profile. So you can flip this whole thing, then the flip stop, you would essentially just be using this space there. So that is an option with this. I'm not going to show that in this video, but I am using the 3 dogs for support. I would recommend that if you do buy this setup, I think getting that 3rd dog is definitely a good idea. And yeah, again, just the flip stop, like the UJK one, you can see it's locked down, but you can push it along a little bit. So like there were times when I'd butt up a piece of wood and it generally didn't move, but sometimes you just worry that it did. Whereas like these flip stops just move, they lock down, and then there's like no movement in that whatsoever. That is so impressive. I am thrilled with this purchase. Okay, so we've unboxed it, we've taken a look at all the parts, we've set it up, we've made some test cuts that are super square, and really happy with that. Now, I am gonna lose a little bit of the depth of cut on my MFT, but I was very much expecting that, and I can drill more holes. I can position it differently. There's so many different things that I can do to really kind of make this work and maximize this space, and I'm gonna use it like this for a while and then see what I want to do with that. But as far as the UJK is concerned, this is not going to be going to waste in my shop. This is a phenomenal fence. I highly recommend that you check it out if you are looking for a fence and don't care about the measurement piece of it. But the Benchdogs for me is kind of the big winner. I want those precise measurements on here. Having the 2 flip stops is awesome. I'm kind of tempted to get a third, although I'll get to some of the costs coming up, which shipping can be a bit hard for those of us here in North America. Now, if I were to buy this again, I probably wouldn't get the right-hand side support. It's just not something that I typically used with the UJK when I had it. And I thought that it would be nice to include in this video, and that's why I bought it, because it did come with a flip stop, so I wasn't paying a huge premium for that right-hand side fence. Now, this is the 1200 millimeter Mark II fence with fence dogs. I didn't get the quad dogs, which screw in, because I want to be able to easily pop this off, put it in the drawer, and then bring it back out when I need it. And with the quad dogs, you have to disconnect them and unscrew them each time. So I didn't want to deal with that, so that's why I went with the fence dogs. Now, how much does this cost? So, you know what, the actual cost of the item isn't that bad. So the 1200 meter Mark II with the fence dog, so that's basically this section here, excluding the extra dog. So 2 dogs, this little support dog, this extension, and 1 flip stop is $140 Canadian or 102 US dollars. The right-hand side support, which includes the fence dogs and 1 flip stop, is $84 Canadian or 61 USD. It's all based on pricing that I just pulled from the website. The extra fence dog cost me $24 Canadian, $18 USD. And what I paid for this, so I bought this during their Easter sale, which was 15% off, I think, the majority of their products, which is a huge sale, given that they are kind of like a boutique workshop in the UK. All this is made in the UK. Take a look at their Google Street View. It's kind of cool to see that this is a small shop and a small business, and their support was awesome at keeping everybody informed during kind of that big sale period and how many products they sold and had to get out the door. So overall, for all of this, so the right-hand side support, all this, I paid 210 Canadian dollars. Now, right now, that same amount of stuff is about $248 Canadian or $181 US. Now, where I got dinged though, so $210 Canadian. So they charge $84 Canadian for shipping here to Canada. Not only that, I got hit with another $50 charge from DHL on import duties. So I'm $134 in on shipping basically, and that's on a $210 purchase. So I don't know what percentage that is, but like 60-65% of the entire cost of this was shipping alone. So for those that have or live in areas where you're not going to get dinged as much, or if you're prepared for it, I think that that is just something to be aware of when it comes to purchasing from Benchdogs specifically. They shipped with DHL. No problem getting it here. As soon as it shipped, it was like here in 2 days. But just the cost and then the duties on top of that definitely leaves a bit of a mark. So would I pay, how much is this overall? $340-ish for this. If I were to do it again, absolutely. I'd probably be able to save $50 by not getting the right-hand side support. But I would absolutely do this again if I was building a DIY MFT. So I think that it is worth checking out. It's more versatile even than what I covered in this video. They have some great videos on their website, so definitely check it out. They also have a number of other products that are also supposed to be great quality as far as their squares, like on par with Woodpeckers and the other brands like that. So I'm thrilled with my first Benchdogs purchase. I'm sure it won't be my last. And let me know in the comments below what you think about the Benchdogs system and if you think it's something that's relevant to your workshop or if you have any recommendations for me. So let me know in the comments below, and see you in another video soon. Thanks.